If you're selling your home, ever sold your home, or even thinking about selling your home, you know that it's one of the biggest transactions that you'll ever do in your entire life. And for myself, as an agent representing a seller, I like to be organized. I think it'd be pretty cool to share with you the process of going from point A to point Z, which is all the way from the first interview all the way to the close. So first things first, there needs to be an interview because you're not going to be doing this transaction unless you're 100% comfortable that this agent can actually take you from opening to closing. A big part of the process for me is to understand the reasoning behind why you're selling the property, what you think that your property is worth without any kind of data or anything determining what you think that your property is worth. So in this initial interview, it's really, I like to listen as much as I can. I hope that the person I'm interviewing is talking way more than I am. And then once I hear them out, I can understand kind of what they need because who knows, I may not be the agent for them. So we want to make sure that both parties, we have an idea if we can work together well. Like for example, for myself, I think communication is really important. If there are urgent things that needs to get done, such as certain contracts that need to be signed, I need to be assured that my client is responding in a timely fashion. So I like to work with people who are good with communication. So this is the time where we get to feel each other out in terms of how we work, what our standards are. Now, this is the point where I get to discuss with the client the marketing plan, what I think their house would potentially need in order for it to be at the top of the market. And also, this is where we negotiate and talk about commissions. Once that's all set and once all that is cleared up, then we move on to the next step, which is signing the listing agreement. I do not start any work unless we sign an agreement. Now, can a seller cancel the agreement? Of course they can. But this is an agreement saying that I am now your agent and I'm going to do everything in my power to get you the most amount of money in the shortest amount of time with the least amount of problems. So this contract is very important to set, again, a legal standard of what we're going to do, the project that we're working on. So California's contracts are pretty long. They can be pretty intense, but at the end of the day, it's not a bad thing. There's a lot of protections out there, especially for the consumer. So once that's signed, then for myself, I like to move on to the game plan. The game plan is essentially how I discuss the timeline of everything that's going to happen. And I like to give myself a little buffer for each parts because things do get delayed and that is very common. So I have a little buffer on each specific item, but it's taking us through the vendors, it's taking us through photography, the videography, the marketing, when we list all the open house dates, the potential for offers, also with the days on market analysis of the neighborhood, when we can sort of expect our listing to be sold using data. So a lot of this is a preliminary game plan of what we're going to do. Now, once we have that plan, we can move on to the vendors. Vendors, and when I say vendors, I mean, I'm talking about painters, I'm talking about handyman, I'm talking about flooring, I'm talking about electricians, I'm talking about anything and everything that needs to get done in order for your listing to sell at the top of the market. Now, typically, I would say that painting and staging are two of the biggest ones that I think are very necessary to making sure that your home gets sold at the highest price. Now, painters are kind of cool because they kind of double up as a handyman as long as you discuss with them up front what you need done. So little miscellaneous items, maybe a piece of wood on the fence is broken. A lot of these guys, they're really handy. They can get it done. They'll just include that sort of in the price. In my experience. And also staging is really important. There's too much data on staging, how you get the best return on investment and the homes who stage get sold quicker. Now, let's say you don't have enough money up front. Let's say your budget cannot handle these upfront costs. Well, that's okay. You can sell it without any of these things. However, a responsible agent will tell you that this will also affect the price to which we list. So as long as the seller and myself are just locked in and aligned on the price, you don't have to do everything. But it is a discussion to be had, and this is a part of selling your property. So after all these vendors are done, flooring, staging, painting, we move on to photography. It is photo ready. And I like to do photos and video. They're very effective as a marketing tool. And what do you look at when you look at Redfin, Zillow, at the MLS? You look at pictures. That's what gets you in through the door. So you're looking at the pictures first, and then you read all the details, right? So when you have the pictures, a great photographer, a real estate photographer, will always be able to make the space look huge, a lot bigger than it is, makes it feel breathable, right? So this is where a lot of the staging sometimes less is more, so to make the space a lot bigger. You know, there are different styles of photography that you can do. There's Matterports where there's a 3D walkthrough. For myself, I really like the video aspect of it, really taking the person and controlling that kind of tour all through the home so that a buyer can potentially walk through the way you're walking through. And videographers are wonderful. I love the new technology of drone shots showing the neighborhood and making sure your home really stands out. And after all the videography and photography is done, it typically is about a 1 to 2 day turnaround. Now we go into marketing. Now, marketing is not just about putting it on the MLS, putting it on the internet. However, marketing is also getting all your prints ready. And all of these are very important. One of the things I like to do during my marketing is to go through the neighborhood. Why? Because neighbors are a great resource. Because if you love the neighborhood that you live in, if you love the condo that you live in, what you're going to do is you're going to tell any of your friends and family that are looking for a spot that, hey, a spot opened up near me. And a lot of times they'll spread the news. And what happens is the first open house becomes a big one. There's a mix of neighbors, there's a mix of buyers. Now, what that does is it raises the temperature of how hot that home is, right? Just the visual of a lot of people in the home is a wonderful thing. So after all the marketing is done, then we go to the open house. Now, the opening of the open house is very important. Days on market is very important. I like to advertise as close to the open house as possible so that the days on market is the shortest, because what happens when the days on markets grow stale, when it goes 30 days long, when it goes 40 days long? What happens is it shows the buyers that maybe something's up with this property. And if something's up with this property, maybe the buyers are going to lowball you, and that's when you start needing to lower the price. Open houses are so important to the process. This is where we get a lot of feedback. We get immediate feedback on the pricing. If we have 0 people walking into our open house, it potentially means that we priced it way too high. If we get a whole lot of people, we get a good feel of the market. So I love looking at the data that the MLS provides. It gives you the views, it gives you how many people put a favorite on your listing, and it also gives how many people shared your listing as well. So this data, this analysis, I always have it ready for my client so that they see for themselves what's going on. With data, with analysis, we priced it just right, so we should have a decent amount of people through the door. So let's just say the open house went great, there's a couple people interested, and that's when we go into our next step, which is the offer. The offer. No matter what offer we get, whether it's low, whether it's right on the money, whatever it is, agents are legally obligated to present every single offer to their seller and for the seller to decide. Because sellers, yes, they want the most amount of money, but sometimes maybe for them it's more about timing. So let's, for example, say that they get an offer that's about $5,000 less than they were expecting, but they got it on day 2. Now, to the seller, looking at the data, a lot of these days on market can be about 21, 30 days. So let's say to the seller, hey, listen, I like that we got an offer right away. So at the end of the day, this $5,000 will net me more money because I won't have any more holding costs. So let's take this offer and run with it. So the sellers can think about these types of things with the help of an agent to kind of break down the feel and what's going on with the market. Now, the best thing that can happen is for you to get multiple offers. And that's when we put down multiple counters. But if you have one, yes, countering could be a risk, but it could be worth taking depending on your situation. So now you got an offer, you like the offer, you accepted the offer. Next, we go into escrow. Now, escrow is where you are going to be slammed with a bunch of DocuSigns. There's going to be so many disclosures that you have to sign, so many things that you have to do, such as hazard reports, such as certifications, smoke detectors, carbon monoxide, all these little things. This is the time we're going to get busy. Now, in the meantime, the buyer is going through financing, they're going through appraisals, they're going to be going through inspections. And depending on how long the terms that we've negotiated on, we could have negotiated 7, we could 10, 12 days, however long. And escrow typically could be around 20 to 30 days. All these numbers, again, are negotiable. So we can make it whatever we want to make it. And also, one thing to mention about escrow is that the buyer has 3 business days to deposit their earnest money, which is typically 3%. Now, that 3% is going to go into your bank. Now, at the point of inspection, they can back out and take all this money back. However, once they waive all their contingencies, that earnest money is ours. So once it's all waived, let's say there's about 10 more days of escrow left and they decide, you know what, I have cold feet, I want to back out. If their contingencies are all waived, then that earnest money is ours. So now you've gone through escrow, and all you're waiting for now is for the buyer to have a final walkthrough and title to change hands, and congratulations, you are finally at close, and the money is now yours. Now, I hope this was really helpful in showing you kind of the process through which an agent and a seller will go through together. Each step is more complicated than I described, but this is why I love holding every single client's hand through each process. My name is Daniel Fay. I am a Los Angeles real estate agent. I hope this was helpful.